Oh, hello there. Yes, well, it's very late o'clock capitalism time. Still, at least it's the weekend. One is reminded, perhaps, that the new cannot be born. Yes. Interesting events overnight with Eurovision. Astounding that the commentariat and the lovely media cannot get their heads around the fact that people might actually be concerned about things. Anyway, yes, yesterday we had the unedifying spectacle of a brilliant piece from Allister Heath, yes, him again, in the Daily Telegraph. A man that cannot understand the world. It's astounding what a privileged background and a privileged education and, just a very privileged work life will do for you in terms of your inability to understand basic mechanics almost. So he wrote this: the British dream is crumbling, replaced by a nightmare of sectarian division. The UK has been hugely successful at integration, but mass immigration elites have abused our openness. Yes, we'll come back to elites inevitably, but in this piece he does that inevitable thing whereby he says that Britain is absolutely lovely and we love everyone and we're so welcoming and we're all lovely and everything's brilliant, everything's absolutely brilliant, apart from the fact that it's all a chaotic mess which has nothing to do with him. Again, we'll come back to him. So let's read a few select pieces, shall we? Britain is a wonderful, welcoming country that embraced newcomers fleeing persecution or poverty for centuries. Our gradual affirmation of religious toleration after the English Reformation and the Scottish Enlightenment, our individualism, our early adoption of capitalism. Yeah, got to squeeze that one in because apparently it's synonymous with freedom. Our commitment to the rule of law, our pioneering role in the eradication of slavery, all helped to forge a culture that to this day remains more open to outsiders than those of our European neighbours. Yes, you see, we've always been really lovely people. Now, you can forget about the Gordon riots, you can forget about all of that anti-Catholic stuff that we went through for centuries, you can forget about the 1970s if you like, you can even pretend that Notting Hill race riots in the 50s didn't happen, that all of that stuff in the 1970s and early 80s didn't happen, or indeed any anti-Semitic riots historically throughout time that we've always done. No. We've just always been lovely, and the times we haven't been lovely are times we'll forget. Yeah, that's Alistair's view of history. It's everyone else's view of history as well, isn't it? I might well look at Rafe on the New Culture Forum telling me about what a bad job I'm doing teaching history. Anyway, let's continue. Fast forward 3 centuries and we continue to integrate immigrants far better than the French and Germans, an ability dubbed Britain's superpower. Now, that's something I keep seeing, but I don't know where it comes from. All right, I have a feeling he's probably quoting himself. Across Western Europe, the children of immigrants perform worse than those of native-born. In the UK, children of immigrants are better at maths than the children of natives, and children born abroad do almost as well, the PISA tests reveal. Yes, possibly. We have a long history in this country, again, long history, Alistair, of white working class kids underperforming. They always have done. All right, we have a very middle-class white culture in schools in this country, we still do, and nothing's realistically changed about that. It's just that white working-class kids know full well that the education system isn't really working for them. It's one of the reasons they underachieve. It's not to do with the colour of their skin, which is kind of vaguely in there, isn't it? British, Chinese, Indian, Black African, Pakistani and Bangladeshi children all get better marks at GCSEs than their white British counterparts. No, they don't. That flat out is untrue. What he's doing there is choosing a particular cohort of particular white indigenous British children and applying that across the board. It doesn't work, I'm afraid. Ethnic minorities now in the majority in some of the best private schools in Britain. Ooh. And conversely, Muslim Bangladeshi children on free school meals do better at GCSEs than the average white British child. Again, that's simply untrue. I'd love to see him try and cite that one, but he's just made it up, I think. So, once again. Anyway, affirming his mates and his view of the world, Robert Jenrick and Neil O'Brien crunched the data in their brilliant talk, taking back control from the Centre for Policy Studies, Tufton Street, you notice. So that's obviously about arguing a particular case. You may have seen the stuff in the press about that. England's population surged 6.6% between 2011 and 2021. I wonder what happened in 2010, Allister. We'll come back to that one. It would have grown 2.7% without migration, yet during that time the major roads network grew by just 2.3%, the rail network by 1%, GP surgeries by 4% at the time of an ageing population, the number of secondary schools by 4.9%, the net capital stock of machinery and equipment by 4%, and maddeningly, our electricity generation capacity collapsed 14.2%. Yes, I wonder what was going on in government. Could it have been austerity, Allister? Because whilst you were editor of City AM, which is basically the comic for those people that believe the economy that happens in Canary Wharf, when you were there, you were a cheerleader for austerity because it was going to lead to so many improvements, because the private sector was going to rush in and do all of this stuff for us, so we didn't need to worry about it. It wasn't just a bonanza for people to get rich and the rest of us can lump it. Oh no, my mate George Osborne wouldn't do that. He was brilliant. He wasn't just growing the economy by 2% a year magically by just importing people. No. It was the elites that did that. Yes, somehow the elites managed to circumvent the government in its entirety. Odd. The government's final blunder, this is the crux of the matter, was to ignore the rise of Islamist extremism out of cowardice and stupidity, while tolerating woke critical race theory, CRT, an ideology that rejects colour-blind integration and pits racial groups against each other. Yes, you can have a look at some of my older videos. It's a thing that doesn't exist in Britain. CRT isn't a thing in Britain, but it becomes a magic bogeyman whenever you want to argue stuff. So in other words, George Osborne, austerity, 15 years, not really an issue. Me talking about slavery to a group of 13-year-olds, very, very bad, leading to all of the things that Allister has nothing to do with, right? Obviously. That's convenient, Allister. I must be an elite compared to you, like I say. Yes, Britain's superpower is integration, but it turns out that Islamism and CRT are its kryptonite. Ooh, there's an analogy that nobody uses anymore, I think. Anyway, the authorities did nothing in Batley to protect a teacher chased away by extremists. Apropos of nothing, they haven't tackled radical preachers and have been useless at promoting moderate, reformist Muslim voices. Oh, right, so we have to promote particular voices, do we? I didn't think that was the way that, capitalism with its inevitable democracy worked. But you can see what's going on here, right? Okay, yeah, all of the things that I said should be done were done, and then when they weren't done, or were done rather, then it all turned to mush. But it can't be from my ideas. I cannot be wrong. Because, of course, he lives in that world like all the rest of them, like Robert Jenrick and all the rest of them at Tufton Street. Indeed, pretty much all MPs and pretty much everyone in the British media, whereby they are totally insulated from the effects of their own ideas. So they can completely destroy infrastructure and complain bitterly about potholes because their driver has to swerve around them. And they can complain bitterly about people reacting to austerity-related measures impoverishing them by then claiming that they need better education to vote a different way, which is about as condescending as I can possibly think of. And as I've said before, I'm pretty condescending. Anyway, do have a look at the piece, link down below. It's just utter tosh from a group of people who got exactly what they wanted for Christmas and have now decided that actually it wasn't what they wanted after all. Anyway, I hope they've got a receipt. Please do have a lovely weekend if you can. Thankfully, it is Friday.